a question that many people ask themselves is, how often should I imagine? How often should I repeat my imaginal scene, right? So people who selected a scene that they want to imagine that implies for them that their wish is fulfilled, how often, right? Once, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times? Well, let's talk about the answer to this question, also how to imagine the right way, again, summarized in this video. So how often, right? This is what Neville said: when satisfaction is reached, impotence follows. What does that mean? When you're satisfied, then you can't even continue any longer. You can't even desire to experience the desire and the wish fulfilled again, because you're satisfied right now. Your wish is fulfilled for you. You encountered the wish fulfilled, and you can't even keep going because that's boring. It feels impossible because you're so convinced already. And that is the point where you know it's done. And this can be after the first time imagining it. I had imaginal acts where I imagined things once, and then I was already like bored to repeat it. I had imaginal acts that I repeated probably for some weeks, for some months. And then at some point I'm like, okay, I feel like it's done for me. I no longer want to imagine this. So you can't measure this in days, or there is not like a rule of thumb where it's like, okay, it's always 3 times that you imagine. No, the rule of thumb is basically once the satisfaction is reached, right? So when the feeling of reality is yours, when it's certain for you, when you really feel like, oh yeah, that's real, for the moment at least, you are mentally impotent, right? When you're so convinced of something, you can't again want to even experience that again because it is accomplished for you, right? You're mentally impotent. The desire to repeat the act of prayer is lost. And I really experienced that, right? I imagined hearing a friend saying something to me, and I heard him. It started to feel real. I really felt like I was hearing him. I gained this conviction, and then after some, maybe 2 weeks, I no longer even wanted to hear this again. It was boring because I already was in that conviction that it is so. So why would I imagine it again? It's like, you know what your name is, and it's like you starting right now, someone telling you what your name is. After the first attempt, that's boring. You are already convinced. You already know it so deeply. And 10,000 people could tell you the opposite, but you still are convinced that X, Y, and Z is your name. So the desire to repeat the act of prayer is lost, having been replaced by the feeling of accomplishment. Because you encountered through your imagination the wish fulfillment again and again and again. You feel it's accomplished. You cannot persist in wanting what you already have. You cannot desire what you already are. You cannot desire what you already have. If you assume you are what you desire to be, to the point of ecstasy, you no longer want it, right? So, and that is the point. That is basically the answer to the question, how long should you imagine? How often to imagine? Exactly until you reach this point. Until you no longer want it, until you no longer even want to repeat the act because you are already in the conviction that it's done. Because your imaginal act is as much a creative act as a physical one, right? Your imaginal act is also a real experience, a real act, a thing that is taking place in the here and now, in the unseen reality outside of your senses, but it's a real experience within consciousness. Creation is finished, so it is real. If, however, you do not reach the point of satisfaction, repeat the action, the internal action, the inner movement, the inner shift, over and over again until you feel as though you touched it, and then you will no longer want it, right? So here's the second part. When I close my eyes, this world is shut, and I'm blind to the outer world. Then I feel myself into the state of my desire. With my inner eye, I see it all around me, or the inner eye, the seeing with the eye of God through imagination. I sense its solidity. And when my 5 senses are awakened, I have the feeling of relief, knowing it is accomplished. But don't overcomplicate this. Don't overthink this. You don't have to use all your senses when you imagine something, right? Some people only like to hear some things. Some people only like to see some things. I like to use the audio-visual sense. So I'm seeing and hearing things. I'm the best at that. Sometimes even touch, but you don't need to have all senses. It's about using whatever spiritual sense feels most easiest for you. And then you spiritually sense that experience until you feel a relief because you really feel like it just happened. And then this inner conviction, this inner belief, this inner state is established. And then that is, again, what your world reflects back in its own timing. So when I open my physical eyes, my physical world returns and tries to persuade me that what I did is unreal. Very natural, very normal thing that occurs that many people are then shocked about. So they experience this, they really feel the reality of their imaginal act, and then they open their eyes again. They come back to day-to-day life, and they're like, oh, okay, this was all fantasy. Okay, this was not real. And your world, your senses tell you it's not there yet, it hasn't happened. But when you understand that your imagination is real, when you understand that it was a real experience, the more you understand this, the more you experience this, the more your senses won't be able to persuade you of the circumstances as they are right now. And you won't think that your imaginative act was unreal. You will know it is real. But having done it time and time again, like Neville was saying, the more you do it, right? At the first attempts that you might still doubt, but when you see this dynamic, this law playing out again and again, I know that my desire is moving towards its objective fulfillment, because you know that what you encountered it within, so you know it's done, and then you expect it to happen, right? There's a video that I did called How to Know If You Planted the Seed. You can check this one out above, like on how to know that you actually moved within, which is expectation. You're looking forward to it. You anticipate it, all right? That is, first of all, how to know if you have, like, how often you should imagine is, have you reached a point of satisfaction? Have you reached a point of boredom, of wanting to continue the act? Then that is a huge sign that its inner movement has taken place, when you no longer desire it, when you no longer hope for it, seek for it, look for signs, look to make it happen. All indications that you have shifted within in the wish fulfilled state right now. So you are, right? There is no longer this question, am I in the right state? As long as you ask this, you're probably not sure. But once you're really sure, this question fades away. It's done for you. You continue with your life, and then life can reflect it back. And on the second slide, we talk about how to imagine. You relax. In a relaxed state, you ask yourself what would imply it is done. That's like one of the core applications, right? Obviously, there are many methods, many techniques, many tools that can help you shift. But one of the main ways is to ask yourself what would imply it is done. So what do you want? Step one, what would imply it is done? Who would congratulate? What would happen? And then in a relaxed state to experience that. Not to make it happen, but to now experience the wish fulfilled in yourself. Because the manifestation is the consequence of the wish fulfilled. Wish fulfilled happens in you. Manifestation simply confirms that you already are it. All right, if you need help with that, check out my free masterclass. That's the first link in the video description, where I help you how to shift into the version of yourself that already has achieved the goal. And I show you some pitfalls. I show you how to avoid them. And if you want to work with me, then simply apply for my program. That's the second link in the video description if you want accountability, a system, a structure, a private community, and my personal help. Let me know in the comments if you like that. And this is how often you should imagine. I speak to you in the next one. Bye, guys.